Hello!
My name is Winston. I'm from Warner Bros. TV Publicity. Welcome to our session for Mad. Thanks everyone for coming out. We hope to humor you guys in a fun last day of Comic-Con here. We got the usual gang of idiots just standing off to the side here, ready to come up, and making sure they all sit still and behave themselves for at least 1 hour will be our moderator, Mad Magazine editor John Ficarra. Right before John takes everybody up to the stage, we're going to kick things off with a little sizzle reel from Mad, the TV series, which airs Monday at 8:45 on Cartoon Network. So please enjoy some of this footage.
Yep.
Sam, I know you said stay at home, but the Decepticons are planning an attack.
What's that?
I told you, the Decepticons used this village to open a portal and are transporting more of their kind here.
It's not very big.
Oh no! They must have opened the wrong portal, and instead of Cybertron hit Smurfs.
The Smurfs ended up here. Where did the Decepticons end up? Special delivery. Yep. You got ninjas. What? For dinner again? Luckily, there's new vampire over.
I don't feel so well.
And we got his hands in the bottom.
Then something you find in a cave. Computers. Now you can capture that electricity with Big League Pikachu. Only gum made from actual Pikachu.
They're made from what?
What's the job? Brake trains, back on a train, back of trains. A beehive, actually.
On the next.
Alright. You'll never get that family's picnic basket, Yugi.
Right, stop me, Ranger!
Let's go!
Yugi Bear!
It's Bush. It's Joyce.
The Jersey though. It just isn't fair. I'm never gonna get out of here. Is there anything I can do, sir? Not unless you can alter time, speed up the harvest, or teleport me off this rock. I need to get to Alderaan, quick.
10,000, all in advance.
How about 2,000 now, plus 15 when we get to Alderaan?
17, huh? You got yourself a ship.
Wait, but I can buy my own ship for that.
It was a lovely day. So the air was crisp and there wasn't a cloud in the sky.
Look out, I have no brain!
Thomas, and indeed, he did not.
Sir Harry Perkins, this court hereby sentences you to dance! Wait. Sorry, it's dead. My mistake. Over with his head.
This Christmas.
Ma'am, I don't know how to tell you this, but your son has been born an old man who is aging backwards. Also, he's Batman.
Batman. The curious case of Benjamin
For the last time.
Yeah!
Thing is the internet.
I always dreamed of the internet, but now it's become a nightmare.
They'll never get through our firewalls.
That's a nice wall you got here.
What is this?
Thundercat!
I don't understand any of this.
Oh.
Okay, gang, we need something scary to air on Halloween.
We need another Gordon Ramsay series.
Another one?
I'm so tired of it all.
I feel an empty nest in my core.
Is he singing?
But yelling has brought me fame and money, but I'd give it all up for some
What's that? Tastes like rat. You call that a mummy wrap? It's crap. And those pancakes on rim black. And that makes me vomit in your lap. I can't believe you tried to serve this from a vat. What's that?
Dear Grim Reaper, my grandma got me the same birthday present 2 years in a row. Should I say something or just return it? Curiously yours, Betty.
Dear Betty, you will die at sea.
We love the TV show. You know, when you license your name out to Hollywood, you're never quite sure what's going to come back. And we could not be happier with the way the TV show has taken the essence of Mad and really brought it to the screen and introduced a whole new generation to Mad. So let's start with introducing the producer of that show, Mr. Kevin Schinick. When Kevin speaks, you'll recognize his voice from many of the scenes from the television show. He's shameless in putting himself in.
Shameless. Shameless.
Next we have my right-hand man, my art director, a long-time artist for Mad, and I'm happy to say saves many of the scripts that we edited, Sam Viviano. When Antonio Prohias stopped doing Spy vs. Spy, I guess it was about 20 years ago now, we looked long and hard for an artist who could fill those shoes because Prohias was such a giant talent, but in the same breath, make it his own. And after we got samples from many, many different artists, and there was really no contest. It was all Peter Cooper. One of Mad's most prolific writers, who actually started writing or coming up to the office of Ed when he was still in high school, and we'll ask him about that later. And if you went up to our signing a little while ago and you got the Harry Potter special, Des wrote all 8 movie spoofs in that special. Mr. Desmond Tupper. And I saved the best for last. People are often called living legends. You're going to see one here today. Probably Mad's longest contributor at this point, certainly one of the most prolific. He did things such as snappy answers to stupid questions, Hawks and Doves, and probably what most people know him for, the Mad Folding. Woo! At 90 years old, Mr. Al Jaffe.
Everybody having a good con?
Thundercats, lol!
One of the few people who got that.
Maybe I was too generous in my praise.
I was going to say a bunch of Sam's home videos. Hope you cleared your history, Sam.
Just don't hit the replay on it. Sizzle reel.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. I don't know how many of you have been to panels before, but it's something of a Mad tradition, and I know it's a little corny, to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I also don't know how many of you know this, but because of the dire situation that the country is in financially, Congress recently approved product placement in the statute of limitations.
Oh.
So I'd like for you to all stand now and recite with me the product placement pledge of allegiance. Who's in front of the screen?
Oh, sir.
I pod Allegra. Tootsie Fab. United Franco-American.
United Franco-American.
Banana Republic.
Banana Republic.
Four Chicklets Vans.
Four Chicklets Vans.
One Nathan's.
One Nathan's.
Underbod.
Underbod.
Disney Pagersville.
Disney Pagersville.
Miss Listerine Band.
Miss Listerine Band. Jurgens Hormel.
You may be seated. We did a panel last year, and we basically gave the history of MAD. And last year, it went over pretty well, but we figured we probably should do something different this year. So instead, we're going to talk about well, I was really generous for raising saying these sorts of things. What we're doing lately, what we hope to do, and what we're probably not going to do, primarily because we're pretty lazy. As promised at the last Comic-Con, MAD has upped its frequency to 6 times per year.
Woo!
Please, thank you.
And
it's
weekly.
really good because over the year, a lot of things have happened that require MAD's marketing. Starting with the popular TV show. Mr. Jaffe also got into the act with one of his ridiculous fold-ins. This one asks, where did many performers get their first big break? American Idol? The X Factor? No, many performers got their first big break. Every year, one of our most popular issues is our end-of-year wrap-up where we pick the 20 dumbest people, events, and things of the year. And while last year was a hotly contested honor, our choice for the dumbest people in 2010 were the executives of BP, or as we like to call them, the creators of the Black Oak. But as I said, there were other dumb people as well. Who can forget the misogynistic telephone messages of Mr. Gibson, also known as Despicable Mel? And then there was Jay Leno, plotting to take the Tonight Show from an unsuspecting Conan O'Brien. And what discussion of dumb would be complete without the mention of the cast of The Jersey Shore? So now we're in 2011 and things are looking better, right? Oh, no. Very wrong, very wrong. Suddenly there's a horrible affliction gripping the country known as Bieber fever. And it is everywhere. As was another Warner property, a boy wizard, Harry Potter. And MAD did this collection of every movie spoof that we ever did. A little magic thing. And as I mentioned, that was all done by Desmond.
Nice.
But in addition to making people laugh, we here at MAD like to think of ourselves as a service magazine. So when the flu epidemic raged last winter, MAD quickly sprung into action with a public service germ poster. Among the handy tips, avoid contact with faucets, wash your hands wearing gloves, and toilet seats breed germs, carry your own toilet seat with you wherever you go. 2011 marked the 50th anniversary of Antonio Propius' Spy vs. Spy, and MAD editor Dave Corrado came up with a terrific idea to celebrate it. He sent out blank statues to artists and toy makers all over the country and asked them to just go crazy. And they did. The results were really amazing. Here's just a small sampling. This one from Herman Mejia, a longtime MAD artist. DC Toy Meister Sean Knapp.
Ooh.
And sitting at the panel right here, writer artist of Spy vs. Spy, Mr. Peter Cooper. To continue the celebration, we put a giant pull-out poster of all the Spy statues and MAD number 511, which you might just still find on sale. It's going off very, very quickly. So leave here and run out and buy it. Shameless plug. But the good news is, because you're at Comic-Con, all of these statues are on display at the DC booth, and they're really amazing to see. And I just saw in the back, Dave Corrado was there. Dave, raise your hand, because this was really his project. All right, so you're going to hear a few shameless plugs. In book publishing, we're continuing the Spy Anniversary celebration with the Spy vs. Spy Omnibus, which is on sale this fall, and will contain, among other things, every spy strip done by Antonio full-size on high-quality paper. We also have coming out, believe it or not, on Black Friday, aptly named, this collection of Peter Cooper's Spy vs. Spies. And many trees also died in the making of Insanely Awesome Men, a collection of material specifically put together for the Cartoon Network viewers.
Nice.
And then we have the big boy.
Oh.
Every folding that Al Jaffe has done so far. It is 4 volumes, it's over 400 foldings, it's, I think, 16 pounds and more. And the good news is someone will leave here today with it.
Woo!
Because we're not carrying it back. Hand truck not included. Also on sale now, Mr. Schinick asked me to plug this. The first half of the season 1 of the Mad TV show. Kevin, I'm going to go out on a limb. There will be another DVD with the second half of the first season.
Very exciting, yes.
Yeah.
January 17th, just in time for Christmas. There'll be part 2, but yes, this is on sale now. You can go to Amazon. I was going to say, are there any plugs that are not shameless? They're all just plugs.
I have plugs, and I'm happy to report that everyone is buying all of these Mad products. All right, enough plugs. That photo of Michelle Obama is from our new blog, The Idiotical, which has daily content updates. Now, The Idiotical gives us a chance to post topical material very quickly and to react to events in almost real time. So when Navy SEALs killed Osama bin Laden, within hours we had this ready to go out. That, by the way, is the work of Mr. Viviano. And on the same day the government announced new warning labels for cigarettes, we here at MAD had a few warning labels of our own, such as this one. No booing. It was free to get in. And when the World Health Organization warned that cell phones might cause cancer, we quickly unveiled the new T-Mobile ad. We also took a look at a new internet phenomenon called planking. Not surprisingly, politicians provided much of the fodder for the Mad blog, starting with New York Congressman Anthony Weiner. Representative Weiner texted a photo of his. Yeah, the article was there. More recently, the GOP debate, when Texas Governor Rick Perry bragged about the hundreds of inmates that may have been executed on his watch, we thought there might be a product there. When so many Republicans announced they weren't seeking the presidency, we thought that maybe we should do an entire magazine devoted to that. And when New Jersey Governor Chris Christie announced that he would not run for president, it was the Idiotical and only the Idiotical that reported the real reason why he wasn't running. His prior commitment to appear on The Biggest Loser. Be sure to bookmark The Idiotical and to delete all your other bookmarks and go to it every day for new content. And lastly, just a few words about our new issue, which goes on sale this week, coincidentally in time with the new season of The Walking Dead.
Nice.
That's all we got. Thank you very much. I thought I'd ask each of the guys to just say a few minutes about what they do, and then we'll open it up to questions and answers. Starting with Mr. Devlin, who is really, besides being our most prolific, probably the new second generation of the Mad writers. Just tell us how you came to Mad, those many years ago.
Well, I was in high school. I used to do my own sort of homemade humor magazine, put it out once a month, about 12 pages, and write and draw it and sell it. And in my junior or senior year, I can't remember, I said, let me call up Mad and see how you get in there. So I called up, and whoever answered the phone, one of the editors, I told them, I just humor magazine, I'd like to come in and meet with someone. And they said, okay, come in tomorrow. I said, well, I can't come tomorrow, I have school tomorrow. They said, we'll come the day after tomorrow. And so I cut school the day after tomorrow, went in, met with them, met John, the other editors. They took an interest, and I started, they showed me the template of how various writers have submitted things, what the formats are. I mean, I read the magazine, so I knew what was in there, but they all the behind-the-scenes stuff that's sort of useful to do it professionally. And just, slowly but surely, I started getting into the magazine more and more, so now, and then less and less, the issues disappeared. But that's the exciting story.
And he's worked his way up to a state of extreme poverty, to quote Peter, when you do spy, and this is a question I've never asked you.
What are you wearing?
Do you think about spy all the time? I mean, if you're walking down the street and you see a kid on a seesaw or something, do you say, gee, there may be something there, and make notes of it? Or do you just, when the deadline approaches, sit down and say, I have to write an episode of Spy?
Spy versus Spy on panel, talking to each other, and they have to figure out how to blow each other up. Oh wait, I just finished that. It's one of those things where they hit me at odd moments, so I have this little notebook that I keep with me at all times, so if I'm in the subway, I might get an idea. But a deadline is like a ticking time bomb, so that helps a lot. And fortunately, deadlines seem to cause me to have more creative juices flow. Paychecks also do that.
Not these paychecks.
Less and less, curiously. Around the time that the deadline's looming and Sam's calling me, then I start to go into that little Zen moment. I think yin yang, and but hopefully they also strike me in dreams and in an ongoing way, so it's not all pushed up against the deadline. And the worst thing is that when I start rolling with them, I always get more ideas. If I sit down and start drawing them, then one idea after another tends to come. But usually when I hit on the one that's going to work, then I stop. And the startup is the hard part. So I got to always do more than one, but that just doesn't seem to happen.
Kevin, when I watch the TV show, it's sort of like a mini animation festival every week, and you're always bringing in new styles. I mean, I love that stop motion Spy. They look good in it. That really looked great. Tell us about, well, let me ask you this. I know you're doing a big Halloween show.
Right.
And this isn't a plug, but just talk about the kind of animation that's going to be on it, because there are some new animation techniques, and I think you got a couple of celebrities.
Well, the day consists of I sleep late, I go to lunch early, and then I'm home to watch Ellen, just in time. But in between that, like John said, I do try and make it like a mini animated film festival. So we have a lot of animators. In-house, we've got about 15 animators, and out-of-house, we've got a number of companies that we use. Proudly, I will say, all within the United States, because I know a lot of these shows also. It really is remarkable, and when I came to Warner Brothers, it's like we had to educate Warner Brothers and a lot of people on what Mad was, not in terms of what Mad is in terms of its, iconicness, but also, like, the parodies. The lawyers were like, you can't make fun of them, and it's like, well, it's a parody show. We have to, and the same thing with pushing the envelope and trying to figure out all the different styles. So we brought in some flash people, some stop motion, some photo collage. So everything you're seeing is a whole array of different ideas. And if we can find a new type of animation, we'll share that with you as well, because it's supposed to look a little bit like a little chaotic, but also just really visually interesting. So, that's a big part of our day, to try to figure out what we can do that's different. in format and in content. So that's that.
I'm just curious, where do you find child labor in the United States?
It's very easy. I'm only 8. No, it is amazing. Also, we were talking about, the ideological trying to be topical and stuff. We try and be very topical on Mad. So in other words, we'll write something today and then it may not be on television in like a month. That's why we try and do the movies we see. We got Moneyball Z coming out. A bunch of things. I went and saw. I can no longer go to the movies now without just. I saw the Hugh Jackman movie yesterday, so I figured we're gonna do Real Veal. Sort of stuff. So that's kind of been ruined for me, but. Because we have a quick turnaround, we need to do a lot of the stuff in-house, and it helps to have everybody in the country because the turnover rate is fast. The stuff is topical, and if you watch the show, we have a little topical segment beforehand with the news anchor, and we try to make that like at least weekly topical. So yeah, I don't know if I've answered your question, but I've rambled on for a long time.
I think you're right.
Good.
Let me skip over Al for a second. Sam is my right-hand man, and I really mean that in every sense of the word. So many of the ideas that we have are just little stick figures, and I will give it to Sam, and an hour later he'll come in with something like Weekend at Bin Laden's. But in addition to his mad works, after today, Sam is leaving for a week. Tell us where you're going and why you're going.
I'm leaving tomorrow on a USO trip to Germany and the Middle East with other members of the National Cartoonist Society. This is a long-standing tradition with the society that got brought back a few years ago through a member named Jaffe. We have at least one other veteran of these here, Ray Alma, who has been to Iraq and where else have you been, Ray?
Kuwait and Germany.
Kuwait and Germany. I don't believe that I will be going to any war zones per se, but we'll be going to army bases and hospitals and drawing caricatures, pictures for the patients. It's a number of cartoonists and strip guys, so they'll draw their characters, and those of us who can draw caricatures, and there are a few of them. Apparently, from what I've heard from earlier trips, they're the ones everyone gets excited about. It's one thing to have a picture of Jaffe from the Family Circus, but it's another thing to have a picture of yourself. So I'm pretty excited about it, and I guess maybe when I get back, we'll post some stuff in the blog. That'd be terrific. Okay.
So 400 plus fold-ins. And I know your favorite question is, where do you get your ideas? So I won't ask it.
Certainly not here.
Wish I said that. But tell us a little bit about the fold-in, because I think the thing that most people don't realize is that none of it is done on computer. So the first time Al sees the fold-in is when he gets his copy of the magazine and folds it in himself. And he also has trouble getting A to meet B, by the way. But the way it generally works is the staff will come up with a fold-in idea and we'll call Al and we'll say, Al, in the first picture we'd like the Wizard of Oz with all the little munchkins and Dorothy and all the characters. And when you fold it in, we'd like a hardware store and they're having a sale on screwdrivers. Good luck. And we think,
I'm sorry.
And we think we pretty much stumped him. And then we'll go, well, I don't know. And an hour later, the fax rings, and there it is. Tell us about that process.
Actually, it's become pretty routine because after you do something for 47 years, you learn a few tricks. And I think anyone in this room could do a fold-in right now because all you have to do is get a copy of the magazine and fold it, and then you see how it's done. For me, it's something in my disordered brain clicks into place when I get these ideas from the editors of Mad. Although I must say this in my defense, in the early days when I first came up with the idea to do a fold-in, which I didn't think would go beyond one, I had the job of sketching up ideas. You know, when the editor at that time, Al Feldstein, came to me and said, you know, it's kind of popular. Can you do a second one? And I said, no way. And he said, please. And he got down on his hands and knees and bought me lunch. No, that's a lie. What happened was that I said, well, you know, what should I do it about? He said, well, that's up to you. And so from that point on, I wrestled with, it was in the news, it was an election going on. In fact, the second fold-in was really about the battle between Rockefeller and Goldwater for the presidency. And when you folded it in, it turned into Richard Nixon. That's the guy who actually wound up winning. And so, you know, I had to cast about for ideas, which I did for a number of years. And then as my aging brain became a little bit foggy, and no, actually what it was is that I wasn't on top of the latest geek work or the kind of things that were popular among young people. And so, thankfully, the brilliant editors of Mad.
I'm sorry, Audrey, could you say that again?
The editors of Mad, these guys, at first, I used to get together with them and we'd all kick ideas around. And then after a while, I started trusting them to do it on their own. And they would come up with these outrageous ideas that John just described, in which the first scene is something ridiculous, and then I'm supposed to make it fold into something entirely different. And it was a challenge that appealed to me because Mad had twisted my mind for so many years. And from then on, it just became routine. I mean, they would say, you know, we'd like to have something about the current, the ridiculous thing that's going on between the Republicans who are looking for the nomination, and then a punchline. And it was very easy for me to switch into that gear. And if any of you have understood anything I've said,
you win this.
You win this.
I was being modest. When he comes into the office, it's still an event, and the entire staff gathers around my office as he unveils the fold, and he just did one that will be in the Mad 20 issue in December. That it's one of his best. It's just amazing. You will not see it pre-folded, and you look and go, how the heck did he do that? But let's give away the book. If everyone looks under their chair, one lucky person will have tape to that space. Not the gum.
I wanted to gum. Second prize is gum and tape.
There we go.
You also get a chocolate factory, which is really nice.
Wow.
So let's open up some questions. We have a few minutes left. Here's a mic.
Line up your mic.
You were fast.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what do you think was your favorite mashup or mix to do, and do you think you'll be doing any Doctor Who mashups or mixes anytime soon?
Oh, please do.
Let's see, Doctor Who. You know, a lot of people have written in about Doctor Who. I wasn't quite sure if that was a popular enough topic. What do you guys think?
Yes!
All right, and I'll tell you now, we will do a Doctor Who because we had a number of ideas we were knocking around. So we'll do Doctor Who. How's that sound?
Woo!
All right, good.
What do you think was your favorite mashup to do so far in the TV show or the magazine?
You know, there was To be completely honest, there was one that never saw the light of day for reasons I can't get into, but it was called Dark Night at the Museum. And that was one I enjoyed because I put that together for the pilot presentation, and that's pretty much what sold the idea of the show. But I don't know, it's a good question. I also liked Pooh Grit. So that was another favorite. So I'll go with that one. Do you have a favorite?
I don't know. Not really. I like the Grown Wars.
Grown Wars is good also. I enjoyed that one, yeah. Good. I'm glad you liked it.
Don't go away. I have 3 more giveaways. And because
Wow. Nice.
I have 2 more giveaways. A roll of Mantua.
Yeah!
And because you're number 2, you will get the second.
Wow, the pressure's on.
Think about it. Yes.
All right, so I have 2 questions for the TV show.
Okay.
All right, my first question is, when I saw season 1, I really liked the rejected things and bad video game cheat codes. Those were amazing. So I was thinking would you remake them again to these new video games?
Yeah, like the video game cheats you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's another video game cheats coming, and there are a number of rejected whatevers. I think there are some rejected Smurfs, there are some rejected, so yes, you will be seeing that.
Oh, and here's my second question.
Lay it on me.
All right, so I have seen like a lot of shows that I was thinking of using. Like, I am like a big fan of video games.
Okay.
And I was thinking that if you ever had like some kind of movie spoof, or like TV spoof, or just a commercial ad, would you like consider including like some video game character references or cameos or something?
Well, you'll be very happy to hear, I think in tomorrow's episode, I don't know if you're a fan of Minecraft.
Yes!
Well, we're doing criminal Minecraft. But yes, we're trying to find ways to work more video games. What are some of your favorite video games?
Oh,
Pull up a chair.
My favorite video games are Mario, Pokemon, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Mega Man.
All right. Well, we've had Sonic the Hedgehog sneakers for a commercial and stuff, so we will continue to do that for you. Yes. How's that?
Maybe you might do like Mega Man jump boots or
maybe I might.
Yeah.
You know what? See him. He'll write you a check for that idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Keep in mind. Also, I want to say, like, if you pitch me an idea in the room, it can't get made because they won't allow me to take ideas from people. So if you have the ideas, keep them in your mind. But chances are we're gonna do something close to it.
Okay.
All right.
Excellent. That's what I was saying.
Excellent. Well, I'll do that for you.
I should say that doesn't apply to Spy vs. Spy. If you want to pitch me ideas anytime.
Attention, Walmart shoppers.
Attention, my name is Microsoft Sam, and I'm going to terminate all of you.
What? No, sorry. This is my multi-com personalities coming out. Hi, I'm a computer scientist by profession, and I'm just spotting a trend here of, I hate to say it, but male pattern baldness. Now, does that come from face palming every time? I really must know, because it must be a lot. Tell me.
You talking about male pattern baldness with that on your head? It's like Michelle Bachman talking about American history.
You know what the problem was? At some point, they all tried orange dye.
Kevin, you're next. You're just into this. You know? Sooner or later, 450 face palms will.
It's true.
Move any man. Trust me, I've ran it against the rail a few times.
Actually, I haven't lost my hair there, but curiously, I'm getting hair on my palm.
I wonder where that's coming from.
Thank you.
Well, I must know. No, like the question is, what's your standard for puns? You get face palm for every bad pun. And what do you think? At least one of you. What is your worst pun of all time that you've just come up with and said, "Oh, geez, that's so bad. Should I even go any further with it?"
Always.
Yeah, the bad ones, you try and throw away quickly, so I don't know if anybody remembers them.
The bad ones we use.
Oh,
I'm sorry. We use those.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Like, just to give me an idea of your standards, there had to be one that was memorable.
We have no standards. Why don't we give somebody else a chance? You have a gentleman behind you. Thank you. We're all out.
Why exactly do Black Spy and White Spy hate each other?
Mr. Cooper?
That runs really deep, you know? Have you heard of the Cold War?
Yeah.
Oh, this is the lukewarm war. And they, I think it's a human trait. It goes way back. Cavemen bumping each other off all the time, and it just, it's one of the things we do to entertain ourselves. Apparently, right up to the end.
Good question.
Hi, it's a question for the show, and I just wanted to thank you for all the stop motion parts, because I really love those, and I'm really happy that you're bringing back stop motion.
Thank you.
And I was just wondering, who does those? Is there a person or a studio?
We, like I said, we try and employ a number of different people. I'm also from Robot Chicken, so I know a lot of people over there.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the opening with the topical, with the news anchor, is a company called Buddy Systems. And we've gone to them to do what we showed you earlier, which we have a whole Kitchen Nightmare Before Christmas, which we put into the Nightmare Before Christmas realm. So we went to them, and they really, really did a beautiful, beautiful job. So that's one of the companies. We have something called Screen Novelties, did a lot of season 1, and then after that, a lot of just individuals that we happen to know, we know are talented, that we go to. If that answers your question. Thanks. You're welcome.
Hi there.
Hello.
I love your parody work, but I gotta know, what is a great idea that did get squashed due to legal reasons? Where do you find that you sometimes have to draw the line?
For the TV show?
For either.
Well, for the TV show, talking about earlier about having to educate the lawyers, they were like, you can't do that. It's like, this show can't exist unless we do this. And then we deal with network notes where we came up with Shaq's body spray. If you don't want to work out but you want to smell like an athlete. And so we sent it to it, and we got notes back which were, we love this. Can you change it to Kobe? Do you understand? And it went over their heads. But, I can't get into, there are different reasons for different, why certain parodies won't go. But I would say my favorite that didn't get to go, I won't get into it, but was Dark Night at the Museum, which maybe one day you will see.
The television show has much different standards than the magazine. I don't know if we ever get into trouble now. We'll just do it. It's a lot easier with the print and the First Amendment than it is for television and standard and practices.
And John and I always talk about how we have a mutual envy of each other, because I can animate stuff and they can do things that I can never do because we're at prime time.
But Mad was sued by Irving Berlin back in the 60s because we did a parody of one of his songs, and that case went all the way to the Supreme Court and set really the tone and the law that's still in effect for why we can all do parodies now.
On a slightly different note, I did a parody for another magazine of Richie Rich, and it was called Richie Bush. It's a poor little oligarch. And it got published outside the United States, and copies were sent back, and this was during the Bush years, and it got stopped at Customs in North Carolina, and it took a team of lawyers from the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund to get it back into the United States and repeat the fact that it was in fact parody and that was allowed. And the really funny part was one of my first jobs was as an inker on Richie Rich, and the publisher had seen this parody and thought it was the funniest thing in the world and told me so. So
that's like probably a little bit dirty.
And then you went to Guantanamo for 2 years.
Good material.
Yes, sir.
Well, I have one question for Mr. Jaffe and another question about the show. I'll start with the one for Mr. Jaffe. Can I fold you in and then you have a secret message somewhere?
I want to give you something for that.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said.
Fold you in.
Oh, you want to fold me in? That's been done before. And I didn't come out any better.
And another question is for the show. In the beginning of each magazine, there's the letters and tomatoes thing. Do you ever think you're going to do something like that for the show?
You mean like a little correspondence with the audience?
Yeah.
I've talked about doing that because I get a lot of letters, and I like to do that. Again, sometimes for legal reasons, I'm not allowed to take ideas, so they get afraid that people are going to write a letter saying like, hey, do this, hey, what about this, how about this, and then if it shows on the air, you might be like, that was my idea, even though, we might have come up before. So I would like some sort of correspondence, and we're trying to work on that, but we're going to iron it out. All right? You're a sharp dresser, by the way.
When you come up with like the little shorts, do you usually think of the name first or like the short first?
That's a very good question. For like the parodies and stuff, you think? You mean? Yeah. Yeah, it is. One of the things I have and I do say to my writers, I say, look, a lot of these start kind of like puns, but I said I want to come up with ideas.
For another magazine of Richie Rich, and it was called Richie Bush. It's a poor little oligarch. And it got published outside the United States, and copies were sent back, and this was during the Bush years, and it got stopped at customs in North Carolina. And it took a team of lawyers from the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund to get it back into the United States and repeat the fact that it was in fact parody and that was allowed. And the really funny part was one of my first jobs was as an inker on Richie Rich, and the publisher had seen this parody and thought it was the funniest thing in the world and told me so. So it's like a private little victory.
And then you went to Guantanamo for 2 years. Good material. Yes, sir.
Well, I have one question for Mr. Jaffe and another question about the show. I'll start with the one for Mr. Jaffe. Can I fold you in and then you have a secret message somewhere?
I want to give you something for that.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said.
You want to fold you in. Fold you in.
Oh, you want to fold me in? That's been done before. And I didn't come out any better.
And another question is for the show. In the beginning of each magazine, there's the letters and tomatoes thing. Do you ever think you're going to do something like that for the show?
You mean like a little correspondence with the audience?
Yeah.
I've talked about doing that because I get a lot of letters, and I'd like to do that. Again, sometimes for legal reasons, I'm not allowed to take ideas, so they get afraid that people are going to write a letter saying like, hey, do this, hey, what about this, how about this, and then if it shows on the air, you might be like, that was my idea, even though, we might have come up before. So I would like some sort of correspondence, and we're trying to work on that, but we're going to iron it out. All right? You're a sharp dresser, by the way.
When you come up with like the little shorts, do you usually think of the name first or like the short first?
That's a very good question. For like the parodies and stuff, you think? You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. One of the things I have and I do say to my writers, I say, look, a lot of these start kind of like puns, but I said I want to come up with ideas that, given a week's time, a third grade class could not also come up with.
How's that working out for you?
Not very well. I've hired a lot of third grade classes. But sometimes it goes that way. I try and get a title that you listen to and you think, oh my gosh, that's funny. And if I find a funny title like that, then we'll usually work a story into it. So I think you're right, the title does lead.
I've got more a comment than a question, and it's mostly for the magazine guys. I've been bitter since the 5th grade when we had an assignment to write a professional letter to an organization. And I wrote to Mad Magazine and lost points for capitalizing the MAD in Madison Avenue and for addressing it to the usual gang of idiots. That was not a professional reading. So I want to really just thank you guys. It's great that all the kids are coming out.
Did we answer?
No, of course not.
I remember you.
Isn't our core audience bitter people?
Yes.
To Kevin.
Yeah.
How much time on Reddit and 4chan did it make to make the Federal Lolcat sketch?
How much time did what?
How much time did it take browsing Reddit and some other websites?
We've got some talented writers who are younger than I am, and some talented animators who. That was truly a collaboration. One of our writers named Marley came up with the idea, and then I just kind of, made sure it made a little bit of sense, and then the animator will put a lot of his stuff into it, and then at the end of the day, it came out what it was. So a lot of time, but I wouldn't want to embarrass them. I think it was a lot of knowledge they already had.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Glad you liked it.
Did you model Alfred over here after a real person, or did you just think of it, or if so, or what inspired you?
A lot of people think it was modeled after Prince Charles, or Ted Koppel, or David Letterman. Actually, the true story is Alfred's been around since well before the turn of the century, and there used to be a dentist, I swear this is true, in Topeka, Kansas, and he would take out signs on the side of the road that said, "Want me worry? I go to Dr. Romaine, the painless dentist." And he would point to the missing tooth and say, "It didn't hurt a bit." And Mad's first editor, Harvey Kurtzman, liked the face and started giving the face for the artist to draw into the magazine all over the place. And he then went on to a cover of a Valentine book that we did, and it sold really well. And it was then that they decided to make him our cover mascot. And they sort of changed him. Alfred originally had black hair and he had more pointy features. And now he's sort of just stupid looking.
Thanks. Yeah, hi. I was just wondering if Kevin could say some of his famous lines.
Yes.
Do you mean we interrupt this program with some breaking news?
Yeah!
And I also would just like to say that the lion wolf thing,
Yeah.
the Thundercats, that was amazing.
Oh, I'm so glad you like that.
That's a nice wall.
That's a nice wall you've got there. Thank you very much.
What was your favorite movie satirizing?
Well, that's tough. There's a lot of them that are good. Certainly the movies that are more pretentious that we take apart are the ones we really enjoy. And there's been some great ones. I remember we did Popeye, the movie, and we had the Popeye, the cartoon character, watching the movie and commenting on it as well. And Bort Drucker just did an amazing job on the art on that. That always sticks out in my mind. Des has done some fabulous work on the Potter series. And in fact, Des did also the... which one did you just do?
The Green Lantern.
The Green Lantern, yeah.
I did The Wizard of Oz recently. New release.
Generally the one we're working on is the one that's our favorite because we're putting the most sweat and effort into it, and then we look back on it bitterly after it's ended. We worked much too hard on that.
About the show. First, I'd like to apologize. This isn't your usual reputation, but your periodic table sketch actually helped me in chemistry class.
That was my hope.
And secondly, I was, stuff like, there are a lot of specific obscure references on your show, and it got me thinking, is there any subject that is either too popular or just has been done to death that you don't do it or can't come up with something original?
Yeah, there are times that, if someone pitches, we do a lot of reality series stuff, too, but, unless someone's like, oh, we can do a Biggest Loser, or, I can't remember what it was, a Real World. Like I said, I've been on Robot Chicken, we did a lot there, and sometimes I'll say to the guys, this has been done enough. I don't want our show to be copying anybody. I want it to be original. So if there's a lot of stuff out there that's been done, I'll probably steer away from it.
Yeah, I noticed you haven't made fun of Rebecca Black, and I'm like, yeah, you probably thought that just speaks for itself.
It's exactly right. It's exactly right. I was like, what has to be said about this that hasn't already been said?
We don't have those standards at the magazine.
Hey, I have a question for you. Is there a talk between the magazine and the show? Does the magazine look at the show board?
I don't know who these guys are. They just sit up here.
And does the medical marijuana laws actually help the productivity of the show?
Actually, the show, we had some initial conversations when the show first started, and we'll continue if the magazine is doing something that we think might be good for the show. I might give them a sneak peek of it at all. But if you look at the show carefully and the way it's paced, it's really a terrific job of the pacing of the magazine through much of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. They were really terrific in catching the essence of Mad and running with it on their own and making it their own, but at the same time being not only respectful, but
just really generous with the Mad brand.
Well, also that, and we all love the magazine so much, and we'd be nowhere without it. So we try and do just that. And one of the biggest compliments I hear is you totally captured the magazine. And with people like Mr. Jaffe, we're using his work, and Sergio, and Tom Richmond, and all that stuff. I feel it's all very one big family.
Well, I think you did a good job of it, because I would definitely think that those guys are editing your show.
Yeah. Good.
One big dysfunctional.
But we're just not paying them.
How did you come up with the idea for MAD?
Well, that's an excellent question.
It really is.
I wish it was mine, but it wasn't. Back in the 1950s, there was an editor named Harvey Kurtzman who was doing... And Harvey was working for a man named Bill Gaines, who was Mad's founder and original publisher. And Harvey wanted to make more money, and he said to Bill... So Bill said to him, why don't you like humor, why don't you start a humor magazine? And that is basically how Mad got started. It started as a comic book, making fun of other comic books. Then they ran out of comic books to make fun of, so they switched it to a full-size magazine.
I have one more question. What is your favorite character from Mad?
Alfred E. Newman. Oh no. It was either that or the Spies.
I was going to say
Didn't know which way to go.
One thing I want to throw into that, at the time that Harvey came up with the idea for Mad, there was a whole line of comics that EC was publishing by Gaines. And then there was the whole McCarthyism and this big scare that comics were going to destroy the minds of young children. And it ended up knocking out all of their comics for being subversive and terrible and bad for kids, and the only one that was left standing was Mad, which is a big ironic moment.
Because it did corrupt the mind.
Exactly. Your money's worth.
I want to ask, will we see any sketches from Mad TV, more namely Miss Swan, make a comeback in a cartoon?
We try to stay clear of that. We also try not to do too many live action things as well. But I know what you're saying, but I think we've tried to make it something separate. It's bad enough the show's called Mad and everybody calls it Mad TV, and I understand that. But we've tried to keep them separate and just stand on our own. So sadly, you will not see those. Although, we also use voices from all sorts of people. So, you might hear a familiar voice from one of the shows. All right?
Mr. Jaffe, I grew up with Mad magazine in the 70s, and I just wanted to say thank you for all the joy that you brought to my life. And incredible. I passed on. My son reads and watches the show, and I'm wondering, are we going to see more of Sergio's stuff in the next season? Is there anything on tap for that?
For the show?
Yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, he comes in monthly, and so when you're watching the show and you see his those are all topical, they're all new. So that, and we're trying to break also the lighter side of with Dave Berg. So we're like I said, if I can take more from what's inspired us from the magazine, then I will.
Is there any way to get the back flap connection?
We struggled with that in the beginning because it's such an iconic thing that but I think it's best as an interactive thing. Half the fun of it is you trying to line up A with B. When I tried to have it done visually, I wanted to get in there and do it. It wasn't as much fun watching it happen and trying to figure out.
So it's something you tried?
Yes, it was something we tried. So and my answer to that was, as an homage, our transitions and our credits come together. But that was as close as I came to it because I thought if I can't do it justice, I'm not going to do it.
Thank you.
The Beck video?
Yeah, exactly.
If you see the Beck video, there's a Beck video, I think it's called Hey Girl, and he threw out the whole thing. It's a giant fold-in. So
it's live action fold.
Oh, I don't know that.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Check it out.
It's
absolutely
fantastic.
Okay.
And it's
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We have 2 minutes.
This was a quick question. Hello? It's for Mr. Schinick and maybe for Peter Cooper. In the TV show, at least, Spy vs. Spy, how comes Black Spy seems to only win about 20% of the time?
Here, this, no, this is the thing. This is my mistake.
I was having them animated and putting them, and I stopped taking tally. And then one kid came to me at one point, and I found more and more kids came up and said, "How come the white spy always wins?" And I was like, "Is that true?" So I went back and I was like, "It's not entirely true, but I think the majority of season 1, the white spy did win more." So we're balancing it out with season 2. So it's going to be his comeuppance.
Basically, we're very racist.
That's the easier way to answer that.
Thank you to all of you for now second-generation fans. And just a comment, as someone who is, like, clearly you guys, a long-time DC Comics superhero fan, keep with the old continuity stuff, guys. We see it, we appreciate it. Super Friends references, always appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.